Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Investor Show. I'm joined today with Brian Wall, the owner of Hello Home Inspections, and most recently, the owner of CXR Plumbing and Handyman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's get started with what led from one to the other, because it's kind of impressive how you built two different niches that can kind of like relate to each other.
Sure.
In a way that's, very helpful for a lot of clients. I've talked to people who have worked with Hello Homes. We've worked with Hello Homes lately, the past few years, all our inspection stuff. But now you're able to serve clients at a really high level with CXR too.
Yep.
So can you kind of walk us and the listeners through like how you came from getting Hello Homes to crush it to then creating this other alternative business that also does really good work on the plumbing handyman side?
Yeah. Hello Home Inspections has existed for almost 5 years now, which is crazy. It was like a dream that I dreamed up in a rental house in Austin, Texas during COVID. When I was there briefly thinking I was going to be there long term, COVID shut it down. We ended up coming back. And during that time, I was like, hey, I would say qualified to inspect a house, but I wasn't actually licensed to do it. And so I was like, hey, I'm sitting here during COVID, not doing anything. Like, might as well take a course, get licensed in something. Maybe it'll be a little like weekend, afternoon, hobby kind of a thing.
Productive.
Yeah, exactly. So when we got back to Tampa, officially launched Hello Home Inspection really quickly. We were doing like 40 inspections a month. And that's like evenings and weekends, really tough to do 40 inspections a month. Yeah. So we just started growing from there. And before you know it, almost 5 years has gone by.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is. Really lucky to be in this space because it's a very volatile market, just being related to real estate in general. But also like you have to be likable. You have to be rehireable. A lot of our leads come from real estate agents. So like you got to nurture relationships and things like that.
We'll come back to that whole market dynamics thing because that's super interesting from an inspection standpoint. Okay.
Yeah.
Just bookmark for that.
Awesome. One of the things that we always wanted to do with Hello Home Inspections was be like not just the stereotypical walk into a house, hey, you've got these problems, but also like pages and pages of disclosures about what we can't inspect. And like, we don't do this because, we're not, I don't say licensed. You should be licensed for everything you do, but like, we're not qualified to climb on the roof. So we use a drone for every roof. And we didn't want to be those people. We were like, we want to be as helpful as possible. Like in anything we do, it's just like, go the extra mile, be as helpful as we can. And so that's like the mentality that we use with Hello Home Inspections for all these years. What we found is that because we would build those relationships, we would go above and beyond. We would get a lot of inbound requests from agents when they're on the listing side coming to us and saying, hey, I got this home inspection from this other company. Like not necessarily a problem with the home inspection, but more like the follow through afterwards in like, they won't really explain it because maybe there's some liability there and like going deeper than just surface level. Mm-hmm. Or like, what does this cost to fix? Like, is this a big deal? Is this not a big deal? And it was always a little difficult to kind of like tread that line. It's like, I don't want to necessarily review somebody else's work and give my opinion.
Well, that's use. I have this thing in business, just really quick. Like, I don't love to take a risk when there's no reward. Like, that doesn't really make sense. And it's almost like you carved out this business and this approach within your business to where you were so immensely helpful to a client. They're like, well, what other ways could you also be helpful?
Exact kind of thing. Yeah. It was basically, we were running this like free advice service until like some days on the side, which is fun because I got to learn a lot. Like I genuinely, when somebody asked for help, if I didn't know the answer, it was like an opportunity to learn something. And my background maybe allows me to learn it quicker, understand the context behind to be able to give an answer. But we're like, how can we do this a little more official, like really make this like a genuinely good service for buyers and sellers and the agents surrounding those transactions. So that was like one motivating piece is like, we want to be able to help, but it needs to be in a more official capacity. The other piece of the puzzle was it's a little hard to say, but generally maybe like 30% of the inspections we do, we'll come back and do re-inspections after repairs are completed.
Wow, that many.
Yeah, it's quite a few. And it's great because we really like sell the service or like the value of the service on the front end and just be like, listen, like here's a bunch of stuff wrong as there is with any house. Everything's fixable, but like it should be fixed right. And there's a lot of ways to fix something wrong, only a couple ways to fix something right. So if you're going to have it fixed, but you might as well get another opinion to make sure it's fixed right. In the course of doing all these re-inspections, again, hard to put a number on it, but well over half of the time, the repairs were either done incorrectly or done in a way that like did not follow the repair addendum. And when you're talking repair addendums, like sometimes it's like, close enough. Like as long as everybody's happy, we're fine.
So yeah, kind of depends on the thing. Yeah, sorry, if it's blinds, it's like
They all like right now. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Versus like, hey, your addendum says you're going to repack the whole house, and like that was done.
Exactly. So a lot of the times we would come in, we'd like read these addendums, and we were really strict about like, give us the addendum because we want to make sure you're getting what you think you're getting, what the seller is saying they paid for, all that kind of stuff. Reading all these addendums, I wouldn't say like we're expert in real estate addendums, but like as close as you can be without being licensed in real estate to being like, hey, we understand these documents. We know what like should be being done, what is said and what isn't said. And we're just like really disappointed in like the quality of work, the completion rate of work, and all of that. And we're like, okay, we're trying to like solve this one problem over here and be really helpful post-inspection. And then we've got this other problem that we're seeing where it's like, we can almost guarantee somebody's paying us to go back and look at something and we're going to give them bad news almost every time.
Well, so what indicators would you have that would be the case? That how the addendum is written?
Partially in how the addendum is written. We did a lot of, and this was something that I like loved as a personal project, was helping newer agents like write really good repair addendums. Like they would write it, they'd send it to me. I'd be like, hey, like tweak this and this because the way you wrote it, this is the result you're going to get. But if you change like these couple words, you have a better chance of getting to the root of the actual problem. So that was really fun. Like I learned a lot, got to meet a lot of really great agents who were newer and now use us because of that relationship. But yeah, having these, like going back and just being really disappointed over like the quality and consistency of repairs was like, how can we affect this space as well? Now, there's this little thing called Florida statutes that tell us what we can and can't do with the licenses that we have. And one of I say it's unfortunate because it affects us, but I understand the reason why, is that home inspectors can't, for the life of a property, can never make a paid repair on that property if they produced a home inspection report on it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So you inspect 123 Main Street. 40 years later,
nobody with ownership interest in that inspection company can ever do a paid repair on that home, even if it's a $10 outlet cover replacement. That was like our first road bump, is like, dang, we have this like really great lead funnel of like, we're telling people what's wrong with our house, but we can't actually go fix any of those things. And so that was our first road bump. And the more we thought about it, we're like, I see why the state wants that. They don't want that conflict of interest because we would just be going in there telling everybody everything's wrong with their house. And oh, by the way, we're the guys who fix it. So that makes sense. But we're like, okay, how can we still have an impact in this industry, still continue to work with the agents who we work with, all of that? And like, it didn't take long for us to realize for every buyer's agent, like they most likely also are a seller's agent at another point, either in their career or even just, simultaneously. So we went to those agents and we're like, how can we help you on the other side? Because when you're listing a property, you don't interact with us as Hello Home Inspections, unless the freak chance that the buyer hires us. And that has happened a ton of times where you show up and you're like, you look at the sign in the yard, you're like, oh no. We work with this agent a ton on the buyer side and this is going to be a bad day for them. But we're like, hey, how can we be helpful on this side? And one of like the most consistent feedbacks we've gotten is like, it's really hard to get like quotes on repairs from home because we're like going all over the place. I got to find a roofer. I got to find an AC guy. They want to come out. It's this huge debacle. And the other part is like, we just need like advice because the buyer gets all this advice from this trusted professional, the home inspector. The seller's not getting any of that. The seller is just getting like this list of things that they're being asked to repair. And they're like, why is this important? Like, do I actually need to repair this? Is this actually a 4-point thing? Like, what are all these questions? And so we're like, okay, how do we create a service that addresses the seller and the listing agent and all of that? So that's where the idea of CXR kind of came. It's like, okay, how do we address that in some sort of an official capacity? It's really hard to do with no like credentials behind you. Because if you're just like, hey, I'm a home inspector by day, like repair enthusiast by night, nobody's listening to you, especially a buyer who's like leaning on the seller to hire qualified professionals to repair their problems.
Yeah.
I can't just come in as like handyman Bob and say, I'll fix your roof for you.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem we were dealing with on the inspection side to begin with, is like we would show up thinking a roofer was just on the roof. And we find out that it's a neighbor seller's cousin. So his cousin Jim, who like is really good with the with the Colt gun, and they're just up there just it was rubs.
So I have single video.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, if we're gonna do this, we need to like have the credentials behind it to actually be a legitimate like force behind this. The easiest way to do that is go and get your GC license. I say easy, meaning like the easiest way to tackle the problem of like authority behind what your words are is like to have like a general license that gives you that authority. So yeah, thankfully, like my experience allowed me to qualify for my contractor's license. Obviously, I had to go through the process of writing all the tests and all that kind of stuff, and took about 6 months to do it. But as soon as we got that, it was like, okay, now there's like a world of opportunity here to be able to tackle these problems. And that's kind of like, how that whole thing started. Having some authority to be able to come behind a seller and their agent and be able to just like guide them through the repair process, very helpful. And that took off really quickly. So that's like the contracting side of it. We started with this idea of like this handyman service because before we had our contractor's license, we didn't want to like advertise ourselves as more than what we were. Yeah. Unfortunately, like the state of Florida is, I say unfortunately, it's probably fortunate. The state of Florida is very strict about what a handyman is versus a contractor. In fact, there is no handyman license. You really can't even get insurance as a handyman in Florida. It's so somebody says
License and insure handyman.
it's not a thing. Either they're a contractor who's like going after a handyman market,
Yeah.
or it's not a thing. I don't know what they're claiming that they're licensed in. So, as soon as we got a contractor license, it was like, okay, now we have some authority behind us to come in. They come in, either one, make these repairs or just give advice. That's how that started. Very like directed at the real estate space, just because that was the space I knew the best and then we were in, and it made a lot of sense. Now, enter the plumbing portion of it, which is like a huge part of what CXR is now. So I had a friend who has a plumbing license. It's not like getting a contractor's license where you can just have like general experience and like sign up for your classes and go get your contractor's license. As a plumber, like you have to have like a crazy deep experience in plumbing, working for plumbers for multiple years before you could even apply. Not something I could just go and apply for. I had kind of like the business already set up and kind of the experience running a business. He had a plumber's license. I know a lot of people watching this probably like understand the concept of like a qualifier when it comes to the trades and that sort of things. Joined as the qualifier, we started CXR from a plumbing perspective, and it just kind of exploded from there.
What timeline was this?
Yeah, so this was, I would say, we started last summer, like doing it legally, but like not full time. So it was like, like you have a flip, like we'll help you with this one flip, but like we're doing nothing else on the side. Like we'll be there evenings and weekends to like plumb your flip in. And then like, a random water heater change and that sort of thing. But into the fall, it started getting a little more serious. We ended up hiring like a full-time plumber. And from there, it's just absolutely exploded. We kind of shifted CXR a little bit, not away from the like repair addendum contracting stuff we were doing, but more so just like, hey, we want to be like Hello Home Inspections is like really good at one thing. Yeah. And then once we're really good at it, then we can like explore different branches and avenues, really put a lot of like time and effort into the plumbing side of it. And one of like the natural places to start there was in the like investor community.
Yeah.
Mainly because we just had so many connections there already with EIMG and people who were like actively like, I need a plumber tomorrow, not, hey, I have this plumbing project that I've been thinking about for 3 years. And like, maybe if you give me a good price, like I'll do it.
Yeah.
But folks who are actively needing like plumbing done every day. So
yeah, like I need it done. I need it done right. I need it done now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we kind of launched into that direction, and we're like, okay, we've got this clientele who like at least know whether it's my name, Hello Home Inspections name, like at least there's some familiarity there with like a good quality company. We're assuming that's going to translate to a good quality plumbing product. Like if we know Ryan at all, or if we know like Hello Home Inspections, we would assume that CXR is probably going to be of similar quality. And it took 4.5, 5 years to get that reputation. So it's not an easy thing to do. But yeah, we launched into like the investor community being like, hey, what do you need? Like, who can hire us?
Yes.
Yeah, we got a couple, I wouldn't say contracts, but like a bunch of repeat customers in the investor community who are just like put a ton of trust into us to come out and pick up where either their previous plumber left off or their previous handyman who thought he was a plumber left off. Like,
have you noticed some crazy stuff with that? Like, can we dive into that right now? I mean, what are some things, some specifics?
They're going to know exactly who they are when we start telling these stories, and I'll let them laugh in the background. But one of the investors we did a lot of work with, it was pretty funny. For the first at least month of working, we were just cleaning up bad work from the previous plumber.
It's so crazy. If I could just chime in for a second, it's so crazy because I talk with experienced investors every single day, and they're not the ones like going and cranking a wrench or swinging a hammer or whatever. And so they may not necessarily know what good and bad looks like from a technical perspective of plumbing. And so it's crazy to see kind of that delta between assuming you're hiring this guy, maybe you haven't worked with him too much before and thinking he'll come in and do a good job.
Yeah.
But then you work with like somebody who really knows their stuff, like you guys, and you come in and you're like, this is all wrong. Like, let's start out by start over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of wild because even though you might have experienced investor, like it takes time to build those relationships with those trades.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, I'll be perfectly honest, like price is a major piece of finding trades to work with, right? Is like when you're on a budget, it's not just like, oh, we'll go a little over budget because I know I'm getting a better product. It's like, we have a budget to stick to. And if, the handyman can plumb within our budget, the handyman can plumb within the budget, right? Like, I get it. And first of all, and it is like, I don't want that to be a hindrance to the people that we work with. Is like, price like is super important, but also like understanding what you're getting for that. Yeah. So some of those like early horror stories were pretty funny. Just like some of the stuff we walked into, the concept of like the simplest plumbing contraption, like the drain under a sink. Most people know, like, when you open the doors underneath the sink, you expect to see a P-trap of some sort, right? The little loop before it goes into the wall. And all that is basically a contraption that's designed to keep sewer gas from coming back up into the house. It holds a little bit of water in it. And it serves a number of purposes, but like that is one of its primary purposes. And just to like open up sink after sink and just see like just some straight piped plumbing happening. It was just like, one, how does this drain properly? Two, this is why the house smells like sewage. Like just everything under the sun. It's just like, oof, okay. We spent a lot of time redoing like brand new plumbing. And like, even though I have my contractor's license, I know what plumbing should look like. Like, I don't hold the plumbing license in our business. And so I get to learn a lot from the guys who do. But some of my initial thoughts to your point about like, you get what you pay for is, man, guys, this is taking you way too long. Like, you need to speed it up. Like, we need to get going here. And then after seeing and understanding, like, oh, like, I see why it took you an hour to like replumb that drain. It's like, because we need to add vents and we need to like make sure our pitch is right and all that stuff, like super basic stuff in the plumbing community and even from the contractor perspective. But it's really hard to like look at a before and after without that experience and say like, I got what I paid for. It's like, it drained before, it didn't leak before. Like, what was wrong with it? Yeah, ta-da. Yeah, exactly. We've gotten to a really good spot with a lot of the investors we work with where they see the value of us coming in earlier in the project to like get ahead of those things so that we're not like fumbling underneath a finished vanity trying to fix somebody else's problem. Yeah. So that it's right from the beginning, it's cheaper, it's more cost efficient, everything right from the start. It's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of repetition when it comes to like working with investors. So, you get used to using the same valves, the same trim kits. It's just like, that's what this investor uses. And you get really good and efficient at it. That is like CXR plumbing right now is like, we're rocking and rolling. We're really focused on investors. But as soon as you start kind of building any sort of good reputation, your name starts leaking out into other like facets and lead sources and all that stuff. There's been a huge uptick in like emergency calls, like, hey, my water stopped working. Trying to service as many of those as we can, like while obviously sticking to like the investors and the schedules that we're already on. But that's probably like realistically our next step is getting into more of that like emergency repair service type stuff. Cool. But yeah, really focus on like the investor community, not so much just on like general public. Like somebody find us on Google and give us a call. Like our priority is probably going to be an investor right now.
We'll be back to the show in 1 second. On budget, on schedule, and high quality. These are all critical factors with any trade that we work with, and they're the reasons that we send all of our plumbing needs to CXR Plumbing and Handyman. We have a great relationship in working with them in Tampa, and I want you to be able to work with them too. Check them out.
It's interesting to me that you say that. Like, is it the repeatability right now and like reducing risk by I have a phrase, go with what you know. And is that kind of a function of that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to walk into the same problem over and over again, and you can be prepared for that problem if you do it a lot. But yeah, I think it's a lot of it, when you do general service work, you have no idea what you're walking into. Even right from the intake of a client to the information they're giving you up front, like, hey, I've got my toilet flange is broken. And it's like, are you sure you know what you're talking about? Like, they could be absolutely correct in that, like, they've removed their toilet, they've inspected the flange, and they're like, that is a broken flange. Or it could be like, no, your flapper in your toilet's broken. But we show up, with a whole toilet kit ready to go, thinking this is going to be a $300 job, and it turns out to be a little $150 job. It's like, that was a waste of time for everybody. So yeah, I would say like the repeatability, the consistency, our ability to fill our schedule right now is a huge part of that. So working with investors.
Goes what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's go back to that bookmark for a second. You have the experience of kind of like around COVID when it started up. Then we had a feeding frenzy of real estate acquisition here in Tampa, like really 2021 to early 2022 was bonkers. I remember going to open houses with a buyer and there's a line to get in. It's crazy. It's crazy. Never seen anything like it. And then now, we're kind of in a pivot now to a buyer's market. So on the inspection side, what kind of unique things have you seen during those different kind of stages of time?
Yeah, absolutely. Early on, it was just like insane levels of, I would say our inspection amounts were insane. We were pretty cheap back then. So it was like inspections up here, we were running to chase a paycheck kind of a thing. And it was just the nature of it. It was, you have to get in quick, you out quick, and you can, you have to charge what the service is worth. And if it's quick and has to go, it's generally a lower quality service. A lot of those agents who we worked with are either non-existent now, transitioned into different fields, whether real estate related or otherwise. But we did retain like quite a few from those early years. And it's those relationships that we built in those moments that really pulled us through, because obviously as the market changes, there's less work available, prices need to go up to match, the lower demand. And it really takes an advocate for us. And a lot of times that's the agent saying like, hey, like, these guys might not be the cheapest in town, but I've used them for 3 years and like they have yet to let me down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. You brought up something I want to kind of really focus on for a second. Do you feel like the turnover in the agent space is pretty high? Like I feel like this is going to be generalization here for a second, but I feel like it's mostly females, mostly like maybe age 25 to 30.
Sure.
Like, oh, like I'll just get my real estate license. I support that. It's a great initiative. But it maybe, and I might be leading you to the answer, but 1 or 2 years, it kind of doesn't really go the way they think it will.
Yeah.
And they're like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And they end up kind of like stepping away from it, abandoning it. Do you feel like you see that in the inspection space, or have you seen that over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also not naive to like, we got into the inspection space at a really unique time in real estate, right? Where things were booming. And so that was absolutely the case. It's, I'm sure there's people watching who have been like, hey, I was in real estate for the last 30 years. Like, of course you did well during COVID. It was like, well, yeah, we did. I acknowledge that. It wasn't anything magical. It was partially luck.
Well, but you took a risk. Sure, right? But like, I can't tell you how many people in 2020 were like, don't do the real estate thing and they're all going to crash.
Yeah.
And I've blatantly have 5x my net worth since 2020 here. I was like, I'm just going to take this risk.
Yeah.
If I get a negative consequence, I own that result of that risk. But I also own the upside if I make something out of it. And so that's just my approach. Like, if you're going to take the risk, you stand to gain whatever consequence it is, negative or positive.
But yeah, to your question, like a large majority of the agents who we worked with early on in 2020 through 2022, maybe, there's been just a ton of turnover. And I think a lot of it was like, we don't know everything that's happening behind the scenes, but like a lot of times you can tell it's like, this agent tends to only ever be doing deals with family or like friends kind of a thing. Those are the ones that kind of tended to peel off and not be around anymore. And there's also been some agents who are just like, I want to learn from your marketing strategy, because like I genuinely don't understand how you're like so successful. Not from a like you're a horrible person, I don't get this, but more from a just like what makes you different than everybody else, because you're like still doing this really well all these years later. Most of the time what it boils down to is just like you're easy to work with. build good relationships, plug into their community, and that kind of holds you over. It's what held us over for all these years, is just like, hey, we're available, we're reliable, we're willing to help. And outside of the space of just like, here's your report, talk to you later, like that has, held on. And there's been frustrating moments where I've just been like, I don't want to be the guy that people call when they have a question, and I feel like I'm just giving away all my time and expertise all the time. But I also acknowledge that it's where, like, we're where we are, and CXR exists because of that time that I've given up. So
yeah, I think this definitely helped. That's definitely been an attribute to help you build. Sure, I'll give you an example. Day after the hurricane, I called you. Like, we checked the thing out. This is kind of a concern. That's not. Yeah, I mean, that goes a long way for people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, we've tried and failed many variations of CXR Hello Home inspections that were, looking back on them, maybe money grabs, or, hey, I see like an area to exploit. Let's see if we can go make some money.
Use it and tried some? Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk over some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done a lot of, specifically around storms. There's this huge opportunity around storms in Tampa when we get hit with hurricanes and things like that. It's seemingly like, you look online and everybody's like, oh, everybody's making a ton of money running around, like ripping houses apart, saving people off the roofs and things like that. And we've, for years, every time a storm comes through, Hello Home Inspections is like, how can we help? Like, what do we do? Do we just get in the car and drive around and wait for somebody to flag us down? Big, I need a mold test. It's like, yeah, mold. You don't need me to test it to tell you. Your house is full of water. And so, like, we've gone that route a couple times of just like, hey, let's just like offer all this testing to tell people what they probably already know. And it just like fell flat every time, because it was like, there's really no like service here. It's like, we're kind of inventing this. We're inventing a problem, like, hey, you probably have mold in your house. This is just an example. Let us test for $300-400 to tell you if you have mold or not. And then we're like, what are we doing? Are we like scaring people into buying the service from us? What does it do for them at the end of the day? Like, they're going to take those results and like, what are they doing? Where are they going with it? Like, what problem did we really solve? Like, one of the solutions that we've kind of come up with there is like, hey, we're licensed mold assessors. That's great. We can tell people about their indoor air quality. We can tell people about their mold problems. We can confidently say that is mold without any legal repercussions. Like, we're well qualified in it. What's the next step? It's like, we want to kind of be involved in like the solve too. It's not just like, hey, you have a problem. It's like, what do you do? That comes from those early days of like, here's your home inspection report. Good luck. A lot of those questions that we would get is like, hey, I saw you note some microbial growth. Like, how big of a deal is this? Like, is this a deal killer? Is this like a Clorox wipe? Like, where in the spectrum is this? Yeah, exactly. Where in the spectrum is this problem? And you'll get everything from like, a contractor walks in and says, no big deal. Clorox wipe that up, $150. I'll write my name on a piece of paper. All the way to like remediation companies coming in and saying $50,000, you got to rip the house down. And so we're like, we want to be, more helpful than that and kind of be in that world. And like, again, we're qualified. Why aren't we licensed to do this? We just went and got our mold remediating license. Yeah. Like, we're qualified to do it. We've been doing it for you. We haven't been doing remediation, but we've been working in the mold space for years. Like, yeah, let's go and legally be able to give more advice, actually be able to help. Again, there's some like state level conflict of interest stuff that we're very conscious of. And this may just be that I have a really strong conscience and I don't like doing things the wrong way or doing things in the gray area too much. Yeah. But, we really follow those rules and make sure we're doing it right. But now we have the ability to actually like solve people's problems, not just tell them about their problem.
And so now you're able to be part of the solve, the mold remediation, for example, through the outlet of CXR.
Exactly. Yeah. So CXR gives us that platform that Hello Home Inspections like was never able to provide. As an assessor, whether it's just like a building assessor, home inspector, whatever you want to call it, there's always a level of like, how far can I go? And that line is usually, okay, if I'm fixing a problem, I've crossed the line. And so, we've gone really good at identifying, determining cause, giving people kind of like next steps for their problems over on Hello Home Inspections. This new phase of our growth, specifically as CXR, is how do we solve these problems now? One of my favorite parts of this growth with CXR is, aside from like the work we're doing with investors on basic plumbing level rehab type stuff, is we're doing as I expected, a lot of work with the listing agents. And an advantage, a huge advantage that CXR has over any other contractor, any other motor mediator, any other plumber, anything that we want to put our name behind, is that we have all the experience of being, I say career, it's 5 years. It's a long time in the inspection business. No, employer inspectors, right? Yeah. So it's like this week alone, we've gotten maybe 10 plus home inspection reports sent to us for quotes on the work that's needed. And I'm reviewing these reports being like, if any other contractor would be reading this, I can guarantee you they would do the wrong repair. They wouldn't do it to the extent that it's actually needed. The repair addendum is written wrong. Like, there's all these things that you go through and you're just like, I know where that home inspector's head was in like what they're meaning when they say this is wrong. I know exactly what they're thinking and I know how they want it repaired. The problem is like everything between them and the contractor usually goes off the rails. And that's when it comes to repair addendums being written wrong, like all this communication that happens. And it's like, I see the original intent. I see what needs to be done. But like everything we're getting in between is just like a hot mess. And this isn't all the time. There is some like, I have been blown away by how some agents write repair addendums, like in a good way. It's like, you know your stuff. But lots of times it's not. And it's because it's being translated through multiple parties. And by the time it gets to us, the contractor, or anybody else, it's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, what are you asking me to do here? Like, what's the actual intent? A huge advantage we have is for us to be able to look back at the original inspection report. And if it's real estate related, I'm adamant that we want that inspection report. Like, don't just send me a list of things you need fixed. Like, I want to see that inspection report on the CXR stuff. On the CXR side, yeah, it's like, tell me, like, I want to see what that home inspector from ABC Home Inspection Company was indicating actually needs to be done. And then we can build, our repair estimate in a way that like it satisfies the addendum. Super important. It's a legal document. Like it needs to satisfy that addendum, but it's also getting to the heart of the issue, which is like the actual repair that needs to be done. It's something that we just got so frustrated with seeing on the inspection side. It's like things just weren't being done properly. And it's like, this is our opportunity to do it right. And lots of times like that may never be seen, right? Like, the buyer seller may never know that like we went that extra mile to actually solve the root problem, but we know that it's the right thing to do, and that's the reputation that we have. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a game for me to like, how can we do this right, and how can we do it better? Yeah, I love that. And you just feel really satisfied at the end of it, right? Like, yeah. I did one this morning. Like I physically was out crawling underneath the house this morning, and for a real estate addendum, it was really cool because we do a lot of work with the buyer's agent on this particular transaction. Yeah, the buyer's agent, and the buyer ended up using another home inspector, so didn't use us. Totally fine. Yeah. Like it gives us an opportunity to serve on the CXR side. And
just to clarify, can you not, so you cannot touch? So let's just, sorry.
It's helpful stuff because it's difficult to try to explain this sometimes.
Buyer is working with buyer's agent, John.
Yep.
John is like, hey, buyer, you're under contract now. Use Hello Homes.
Yep.
They use you. Great inspection. Yep. Got a few issues. Mm-hmm. Sally is the listing agent. She gets the inspection report from John. Got all these issues. Sally's like, hey, can we get CXR to come do this work? Send me the inspection report. Oh, wow. This is also Finnair's.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
And do it.
Okay. Yeah. And that's because you're the common link, basically?
Yes, because I'm a common link between the two companies. So we're working on some things that like very soon, like we're going to release to like some specific agent groups who we do a lot of work with as kind of like a VIP product to be able to help with that without actually getting too involved. So like providing repair quotes and things like that in a legal way actually gives some value there without crossing any lines. But you're absolutely right. We cannot repair any home that we've inspected. We cross companies. It could get a little confusing, but like,
got it.
That's the gray line.
Well, so in this case, then you have the different inspection company was good using.
Exactly. So we got the opportunity to work with that buyer's agent in this case. But yeah, we didn't do the inspection. So we were going off of another inspector's report. And there were some issues that came up, some plumbing, some just like general stuff, some electrical stuff. The listing agent was like, got the repair addendum from the buyer's agent who we work with and was like, who do I like? I got to go find some quotes now. Buyer's agent was able to say, I know a guy. He helps me so much on the buyer's side. I can guarantee you he can help you on your side of the deal because there's no conflict here. And immediately we get a call. Here's the list. Here's the inspection report. And within, I think, 2 days of the seller approving the estimate, like I was under the house this morning. There you go. And it was one of those things where I crawled under there and I'm like, I know exactly what this inspector was thinking. Like, it's one thing to see it on a piece of paper, but like when you're there, you're like, I see exactly.
Yeah.
And we ended up finding like some just super minor like additional stuff that was like, I bet when this inspector crawls back under here, next week to do their reinspection, they're going to be like, yeah, he got those 3 things, but oh no, I see one I didn't point out, and that's still a problem. It's a 4-point issue. And I didn't report on it initially, but I've seen it and I can't shy away from it. That's just a bad experience overall to think you've got your clear 4-point to find out that like, I don't want to say the inspector missed something, but like didn't enumerate there's 4 instead of 3 of this one issue. And so as a home inspector, in the back of my mind, I'm under there like, if I just take 2 more seconds and fix this issue too, like this deal proceeds fairly smoothly.
There you
go. That's the kind of stuff that I really like doing is, we want to be deal makers. Like when a deal needs to be killed, the deal kills itself. It's never anybody in between. It's like, I can tell you the problems, and if that kills the deal, I'm sorry, but like it was the house that killed the deal. It wasn't me telling you about the problem.
Yeah.
If there's any opportunity to like make deals happen, like that's what we want to be here for. And that's an awkward position to take as a home inspection company owner, where it's like it's just grilled into your mind that like liability, like it's not about making the deal happen. It's about like telling everybody about all the problems. It's very true, but at the end of the day, like every buyer we work for, I genuinely want them to buy the house. Like there is no financial interest or otherwise where I'm just like, I really hope I give you a report that makes you not buy this house. Like the only benefit to me is like maybe they'd hire me again on the next fund. But like that's not a long-term strategy, is just like keep buyers just bouncing from house to house. Like that doesn't last very long. So it's like we genuinely want to help people, and we do it through Hello Home Inspections by just being like really honest but also really helpful.
Yeah.
And on CXR, it's like how do we help sellers now, right? Like how do we help sellers not freak out over a big repair addendum? It's like, this is easy stuff. Let's just take care of it. We'll make sure it's done the way the buyers are expecting it to be done, so that when they come back, like everybody's satisfied, everybody's happy, takes the liability off of everybody, everything's done right.
I think a lot of people get emotional over this stuff too. I mean, they're like, you're telling me I spent my last 10 years living in this house and it's all wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on, let's take a breath.
Yes.
This whole thing to fix everything that's about is going to cost less than $5,000. If we go back on the market and we nuke this contract because you don't want to do this, then we have no idea if we're going to get the same contract price. Is likely going to cost you an opportunity cost. So you have much more than $5,000. So like, shed the pride. Look at the numbers. We have something that is a good thing now. It's a little less advantageous than you initially thought, Mr. Seller. We have something that's a good thing now. And I'm not trying to say like, hey, let's overlook your massive issue. You just fix everything. But like, I think some people, buyers and sellers included, let's just take a look at this from a more macro approach rather than
Absolutely.
nuking ourselves over the pride aspect. I couldn't be wrong. I've lived here. It's good. Everything's fine. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. But this is all exciting stuff, man. So what do you think is next? We're still early in 2025. What's the rest of the year look like?
Yeah, we talked about a lot, and it's like somebody tuning in halfway through that is like, what the heck does CXR do? Like, you talked about literally everything in the spectrum. Like, to be really clear, like CXR is a licensed plumber and a licensed contractor. We right now are putting a lot of effort into the plumbing division, making sure that is rock solid. We're able to support like new investors who are coming on board with volume, which is really important to us. We love that investor community. We like selfishly enjoy the repeatable work. It's a great space to be in. And so like that is one of our arms. The other is this idea of like repair addendum type contracting services. Like as a listing agent, you come to us as your one-stop shop. Even things that like electrical, HVAC that we are not individually licensed in, like we have partners who work with us all of these projects. So it's like we're going to get everything done the right way. You're not going to have to chase people down for receipts and pictures. Again, I just love going down these rabbit holes, but like how many times have you like been asked on the seller side, been asked by a buyer, make sure like you provide photos, invoices, 5 days before closing, right? Like that's usually in the addendum to some capacity. And it's like every time we work with buyers on the buyer side, it's like we'll get half a photo, maybe an invoice, something written on the back of a napkin. It's just like this should be so easy, and it's not. So like that is really where we want to focus on like the contracting side right now is, we're not building houses, maybe one day, but like where we're using our skills and expertise is like to make real estate transactions really easy from specifically the seller side right now. So that's like a big piece. So like those are our two buckets where we're spending a lot of time and energy. As we kind of move into Q2, which is crazy that we're already through first quarter of the year.
Yeah.
We really are going to put a lot of effort into our remediation arm. We've gone to a point on the assessment side where like everybody can learn more, but we would consider ourselves experts in environmental problems from the assessment side. We really want to kind of like translate that into the remediation side. So that same trust that the flipper has with our plumbing, the same trust that the listing agent has with our repairs is the same trust that like when your house floods, you're not getting like raked over the coals by just some big remediation company. And there's absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always, always the argument of like, hey, supply and demand. Like, if we can charge it and people are willing to pay it, what's the problem? And I get that. Like it certainly happens. But I think there's always a level of like, hey, there's an opportunity to maybe like emergency fees, like make a little bit more for something that you're providing. Yeah, but like if you wouldn't charge it in the middle of June, like why would you,
I mean,
3 extra costs in the middle of a hurricane in August?
I get that. And there is supply and demand, but like there is also such thing as gouging. I think if you're 500%, I'm not saying that's the threshold. I'm saying that is definitely too sharp, right? So, I mean, some of these people, I was in here talking to my broker not too long ago. He's working with a client and they just spent over 6 figures like in remediation.
Yeah.
And that just got some of the drywall out. And like they didn't rebuild or anything. They didn't put it back up. It's like, that's crazy.
A lot of it is it's education. The idea we hear a lot like, oh, it got black mold in the house. It's like, well, what kind of black mold? Because there's like 6 different spore genuses that could be. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And as soon as you show like some level of competence, it's like, okay, like, have you got a professional assessment done? Oh, you haven't. Well, let's do one so we actually know like what we're targeting here. So we can pinpoint your problem and know what you're dealing with. It puts people at ease. And if once people are at ease, like you can have honest conversation about your solutions.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it goes, when you take advantage of the market like that, don't have to go too deep into that, but it's just not what we're about generally. It's like, we're going to be experts in what we do and we're going to charge accordingly, but we're all going to charge accordingly and just be really bad at what we do. Because there's way too much of that in construction and the trades in Florida in general. It's just, there's just too many bad contractors to want to be part of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's still high demand for that here in Tampa, for sure. Well, thanks for joining me on the show.
Of course.
Yeah.
It was fun. Glad I got to do it.
Yeah. And you're a new dad.
I am a new dad. Yeah. It's great. She was born 2 months early. So we had a NICU experience for 45 days.
Wow.
Of the first 45 days of her life. We were visiting her in the hospital and it was interesting. We look back on it very grateful that we got to like get some sleep selfishly and learn from nurses in like a control setting and not have to learn this all at home for the first time. But she's great. She just hit 3 months. She's doubled her birth weight, which is awesome.
Incredible.
She lets us know every night at 3 a.m. just how hungry she is and waiting for that diaper change. But
she's expecting houses.
She's going to be real sick. She's awesome. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the shores.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Cool.